Well, Linda, I forgot to make an apology first of all because I've got all
What
the wrong
for?
titles up from last week, I think. Um, so what
But,
what
but
was?
honey,
Yeah,
no, I'm just going to cut you down
go
there,
on then.
Mike.
Yeah,
You know, we're all only human. We
mm,
all make mistakes. We all are entitled to make little goof ups. And most importantly, we're allowed to do that when we're not well.
yeah,
You haven't been well, dear man.
yeah.
So don't worry about it.
No, no,
Don't worry about it at
no,
all.
no.
If anyone's got an issue with it, it's their issue.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's all good. I love you anyway. You know,
Ah, I love you too, Linda.
I'm still here. I'm still here. Even when I straighten my hair, I'm still here.
Yeah,
Yes, I decided to splurge because we missed last week. I thought I've got to do something to make you feel good, so hopefully you like the hair today.
yeah. It
Okay.
looks nice. Suits you
Oh,
actually.
God.
Yeah.
Oh, darling, thank you so much for being so blatantly lying to my face.
Wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that.
No, it's all good,
Oh.
darling. I'm just humbled. I don't take compliments too well for myself, okay? Because I'm the compliment giver,
Well,
okay?
actually, talking of that, this is something that givers and empaths
Yeah,
have problems with. They're
yeah,
very good at, telling people how great they are, how beautiful they are, and how much they're appreciated. But
yeah.
myself included, we have great difficulty in accepting it from other people. And actually,
Absolutely.
it's our spiritual duty to accept it as well.
Yes. Yeah.
And so at least we complete the circle or the cycle. So
Yes.
yeah, so it's something I'm learning. It's my
Of
Achilles heel.
course.
Yeah,
So that's good, because it's when we identify our shortfalls that we've got, that we can say, okay, is this helpful or a benefit? Yeah. I love saying thank you. I love saying I love you. I love saying that, good job or whatever.
yeah,
But when people say it to me, it's always like, oh, wow, do I really deserve that?
yeah,
And of course, I've got my own self worth and self value. Um, but at the end of the day, it's just weird hearing it back, because
mm,
I put so much onus within myself to be that person who does it for others. It's
yeah,
like the clown at the circus. He's always there smiling and, getting out of the little minivan with all his
yeah,
mates over
yeah,
and over and over. But when someone comes up to him and he's funny, it's like, oh, okay.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, but it's all good, darling. Hey,
yeah,
so I'm
yeah,
just glad that you're feeling better. Everything's on the mend, which is great to hear.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. And I've had a bit of trouble with blood pressure, and that's coming down
Yeah,
now. So
yes.
I,
Well,
I
just
guess,
bear with me.
yeah,
Hang on, bear with me. Sorry,
yeah,
I've just started the YouTube.
right,
So I can't do it during the promo because it won't come up, but I
yeah,
always start it like in the first, but
right,
I've just got to mute it. So now I
right,
can see what people see. So now I can
yeah,
verify
yeah,
if I'm too close to the camera. So
yeah,
now I can push the camera back a little bit
yeah.
and I can push it up a little bit so I'm a little bit higher. There you go. How's that? That's perfect now.
Super. So
Oh, I tried to be super. I'm a
yeah,
super girl.
of course you
I
are.
am a
You're an
super.
Aussie girl. So the thing is, I
Oh,
think
good.
a lot of spiritual inclined people, I say spiritually inclined because I've met so many people say they're spiritual and do nothing spiritual from one week to the next. But
Mm.
a lot of us have experienced um, many dark nights of the soul. I've had two recently. And you kind of
Yeah.
get used to it. You know it's coming, and you think, okay,
Yeah.
this will be over soon. And I think this recent short illness that I had was also a clearing out of emotional energy, and it was a kind of dark night of the soul as well. And
Yeah.
I want to say to people, many of you that are on a spiritual path and want to keep their thoughts in that fifth dimension frequency are going to experience many dark nights of the soul. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, darling, I just had a big release last week. Um, Dropped my daughter at school, came home, sat in the car for an hour and a half.
Mm,
I was in the car for an hour and a half. I I haven't cried since 1998. That's the last time I cried.
Yeah.
And I am open about what happened. I ended up having a nervous breakdown, and there was 2 weeks where people were looking after me, etc.
Yeah.
But I haven't cried since then. And what happened to me last Friday, where I'm sitting in the car for an hour and a half, it's just this big release. So it was all about me identifying what the emotion was about, going back into the memories of when this all started back in my youth, and then forgiving that person or persons involved, and also forgiving myself for how I was. So it took me an hour and a half because I already knew the memory that it was affected me by. So that was the good thing, because a lot of people don't ever remember the memory that caused their issues. So, an hour and a half, I just sat in the car and I was really healing that memory. And it's good now. I've been in a good mood now for since last Friday.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I say to people when we have to do these psychoanalysis. Go back into our memories and you're reliving that memory back in whenever it happened to us.
Yeah.
And we look at it from the other person's side as well as our side, and we heal their issues as well as ours. And we forgive them. We forgive. And it's hard to do. A lot of people say, "Oh, Stoffam, I don't want to ever forgive that person."
Yeah.
But that's just that just shows ignorance in my term.
It's
To me,
it's also when you don't forgive, it also keeps you continually suffering.
absolutely.
So to forgive doesn't exonerate; it helps release
let's
your
go
own angers.
Let's just go there, Mike. We used to have a certain woman who used to watch our show on Facebook. I don't know if you remember her, but she would comment and then comment and then comment again and again. And she had a lot of resentments and a lot of issues with other people.
Yeah.
So she came out to my house, and I was trying to explain to her, you've got all this now because you are reliving what happened to you 10 years ago. And what did she do? She unfriended me on Facebook. She doesn't watch our shows anymore. So I went out and searched her out the other day. I was thinking, I wonder if she's okay, And she's still doing the same things on Facebook now. Same, she's playing the victim. She's got no accountability for her own actions in this. She's blaming everybody else for what's happened to her.
Yeah.
So therefore, how can you help people like that?
Well, you can't.
And, so it hurts me, because I did invest a lot of time in her.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's standing there and saying, right, I'm the only person who can be responsible for what is happening to me.
Yeah.
If I've got an issue, it's my issue.
Yeah.
If I've got an issue with another person, that's their issue.
Yeah.
So we should never hold on to animosity about another person.
Yeah.
My ex-husband, for gosh sake, I was 14 minutes clinically dead at his actions. But if I saw him today, I'd run up to him and hug him and say, thank you so much for what you taught me about who I am.
Yeah, that's right.
Because
that's a good way of looking at it.
There is no animosity. There is no blame at all. I love him still. I love him.
I mean,
but it's
you'd be right initially to be angry and have all these emotions where you want to throttle him yourself. But you continue that for 20 years.
I never had that done, So I try to help people now who have had, we talk about like assault and other type of assaults that children especially get from, parents and, men with younger children type assaults, if you're following what I'm trying to say here, because it can be very traumatic. But we can't hang on to those hurts, because that child was an innocent victim. And we've got to say at some point, I'm not going to allow what happened to me when I was 2 to affect me now I'm an adult.
Yeah.
And we take that responsibility.
Absolutely.
And it is harsh.
Yeah.
It is extremely harsh words
Yeah.
when we say to ourselves that we have to mend and forgive and heal, right? So, yeah, that's the message that I just want to tell everyone this week because, I did my tarot last Sunday and we have won part of this war now, Mike.
Yeah.
Yay. I'm not going to go too much because obviously I've got to be careful because we're on YouTube. But we have won the first round, definitely. The lies and the deceit, they can't keep it going anymore. They're coming up now with what can we do next to keep it all going. Okay? But we won. We won.
You'll find, which I'll put up either later today or tomorrow, the Jeanne d'Arc prophecy. You'll find some very interesting questions in there, which will give a lot of answers. Before we go on the first excerpt, I've already started channeling this message that Jeanne wants me to bring. And that is, if we do nothing else, we've been through 2.5 years of hell. You know what? We're still here. And we have now have a duty to live our lives complete with love, without fear, enjoying life, not go a day without thinking of those names: Fauci, Gates, Biden, Trump, Johnson, Macron, all of it. Don't put them into your consciousness. You watch how this changes very, 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 very quickly because we starve them of the energy.
Yeah, it's going to change big time now, Mike.
Yeah.
I got it on Sunday that we're winning and, they're scrambling. They don't know what to do now. Yeah. They're scrambling. Yeah. They have to come up with another plan, which will be like Plan T. I think we're up to Plan SRT, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So it's all coming, but we've just got to remember they are scrambling. So I'm just happy with the energy of the world is now changing.
Absolutely.
There are people, how many times a day now am I hearing people saying, I'm so sick and tired of seeing people that are selfish, people who feel like they're privileged, people who are angry. I'm sick of it. And I said, well, what are you doing to change that energy into loving, better energy? Are you out there attacking them back and being judgmental and accusing them of what they're doing? Or are you going up to them and saying, oh, my gosh, I hope that you're okay?
Yeah.
Because that's how I treat it when I see people like that. Yeah. We don't reflect back that same energy back to them.
I'll tell you, Linda, yesterday my friend was here and she showed us and told us all about the Joe Dispenza week-long workshop that she went to. And she said the love from people that were there was 79 different nations there. And she said the love that came from that place told her that there are so many beautiful people and this ripple effect that it creates.
That's right.
And 31 people got off their wheelchairs for the first time.
Oh my God.
This is the power of love. And that's why I say, when you focus on love, joy, enjoy in life, all this shit goes away.
It does.
Because it's all frequency.
It really does.
And so, there's this ripple effect. And the thing that Jeanne wants me to channel is about something to do with the collective. But more importantly, is what I was getting. It's the 100th monkey effect. It doesn't matter all those people that sit on their backsides and don't want to do anything, because as a species, they will eventually start doing it as more and more people start doing it.
Yep.
So
that's right.
It really is an exciting time. And if you was to see 3,500 people all standing together in love, meditating on love, and seeing the expressions on their faces, you will know without any doubt that this situation is far from hopeless. Far from
course.
Hopeless.
I know.
So,
I know.
Anyway,
Wow.
shall we get on
Oh,
with
it's
our
all
first?
good.
Our first
Yes.
because no
Where
Katerina
are we
today.
going?
I didn't get a chance to record.
No, and as I said, Mike, no excuses. Don't have to explain.
Yeah.
Okay, you've been unwell. We all love you. We're so happy that you're getting better. You know, when you messaged me yesterday and said that you may not be here tonight, I thought take another week.
Yeah.
You know, take another week. It's okay because we're all going through hard times. We really are, Mike.
Yeah.
You know, so for you to be here tonight, I applaud you. I'm so proud of you. And just know that, oh God, now I've lost my train of thought.
I've got a
You know,
strong
I'm only
immune
a
system,
girl.
Linda. I've been blessed with a
Oh.
strong immune system, so
Of course, darling.
I get
you
over
know,
things
but
very quick.
at the end of the day, I'm sure Katerina fully understands as
Yeah.
well why she's here.
Yeah, well, she's
you know?
buggering off to Italy for 6 weeks soon anyway.
Oh my gosh. Don't do it to me, Mike. You know, my friend was over today and I said to her, geez, I'd love to I don't know where I want to go, but I just want to go somewhere for like a week or two. I need a holiday.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't had a holiday I haven't been away from my house in 4 years. You know? Well, I go for a day, but I haven't stayed overnight anywhere in 4 years. You know? So, of course, I'm starting to feel a little bit cabin fevered here.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, it's all good. Well, where are we going first? Are we going to go and have a look at a ghost?
The TV ghost and the crazy poltergeist.
Oh, yes, please.
Let's have a look at
Let's
this
bring it on.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Our first set of photos comes from one of our viewers, Stacey Alexander. Stacey says that this photo was taken over 20 years ago and shows her son standing inside of a playpen. She says her son would often look like he was interacting and playing with someone who wasn't there. In the photo, you can see the face of a young girl just to the left of Stacey's son. There was nobody else in the house when the photo was taken, and the TV was turned off. Stacey says there was always an off feeling about the home, and that it would often feel like there were people in the room watching you when there was no one else there. So who or what is this face in the background near Stacey's son? To this day, the family haven't been able to explain the mysterious sighting, and often wonder whether their son was interacting with a ghost.
After it happened, I need cameras in here.
Yeah, you do. Look at that though. Look at that. On the ceiling. Right in front of me.
Before long, the homeowner's daughter gets spooked by the lights.
Plenty of activity here tonight.
What?
Lights, Dad!
In this next piece of footage, their friend gets a fright.
Look at that! Look at that!
Over the subsequent months, the activity seemed to get more and more frequent. Watch here as more movement is caught on camera.
Come on, Freddie. I know we call you Freddie, but we don't know what to call you yet. But we like it.
Wowzers.
Things escalate quickly as it appears objects in the home are now levitating on their own.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not lying, the f***ing picture is levitating. You can't see it.
A picture frame lifts up off the shelf.
Look at that!
And here they capture the phone hovering in mid-air as well. In this clip, the curtain and picture frame are moving, seemingly unaided.
The cat watching it.
Is it?
The curtain.
And finally, we see a large painting shifting on the wall.
Right, I'm gonna try and get up as close as I can to show you that there's nothing on the picture. Alright, my heart is pounding. Nothing.
There you are. Nice Welsh lass. It's happening to there. So, I'll tell you
Okay.
what I did
Are we
do.
gonna-
Go on.
Are we going to talk about them one after the other or
Yeah.
together?
Tell us about
All right.
the
The imaginary friend in the
imaginary
TV.
friend, because I blew the
Okay.
picture up. So here it is. You can
Yep.
see it on the screen.
Okay, so in this one, Mike,
Mhm.
I've got an issue
Mhm.
because when we've only got one focal point, because a camera only has one lens, we as humans have two lenses, which means that we can establish distance. So is this, I'd call it female face, are they in the TV or are they standing in front of the TV? Because if it's inside the TV, it could be just a screenshot of something that they've had on the TV,
Yeah.
or it could be paranormal. But if it's in front of the TV, it could be just someone sitting there, like
Yeah.
squatting there
Yeah.
beside the child.
Yeah.
So it's extremely hard to determine if that one's real or fake.
Mm.
So the way that it's sitting there and the way that it is so vivid, I've got to say it's fake. Only because I've seen many ghosts.
Yeah.
When they manifest into an apparition, they don't stay in that form very long.
No.
So we've got somebody who had time to run and get the camera, run back and take a photo.
Mm.
And that face was still in an apparition.
Yeah.
So
I mean, when you say fake, Linda, do you think it's willfully fake, or it's just they took the photo and they didn't realise somebody was in the screen, or the TV was on?
I don't know.
No.
I only discovered a new thing last week. Yay! I like it when I learn new things. I feel so proud of myself. But there is actually a ghost app. You take a normal photo.
Yeah.
And then you go into like this filter and you can pick a ghost to put into the photo.
Right.
There is a ghost app. Yeah, I saw it on a YouTube clip the other day. A guy's showing how he uses it. So he just takes a random photo on his phone, and then he shows the phone with the app, and it has all these different filters of ghosts that you can overlay on your photo. So here we go again. More fake photos will be now put out there saying, oh my gosh, look what I caught, when these people know for a fact that they've actually modified a photo with an overlay of a fake ghost. So, we've got to be really careful of these ones now coming out, Mike, because, this is the thing that bloody whoops, sorry, I just swore on. Oops.
Carry on.
It's the thing that really irks me as a paranormal investigator, because we always strive to prove that the paranormal is true. So the more people make these fake photos, fake videos, etc., they are actually hampering the science being proven that this phenomenon actually does exist. And that's why I get so worked by it, because I am a scientist. I am a meta-scientist. I've got a PhD in this. Pity that there's not some university that wants to employ me as a lecturer or something, because that would be really cool. But at the end of the day, the more of these fake videos and photos out there, they're only hampering us. And these people put them on TikTok, etc., saying, "Oh yeah, look what I've got," and they get up there 50,000 views in an hour, and it's not helping the cause at all.
No.
Unfortunately,
Well,
it really doesn't.
Linda, the reason I disappeared very briefly there, which people hopefully couldn't see, is because this is my app, my spirit communication app. This is my trumpet, and this is used as a voice box. We're still building up the energy with it at the moment, but I'm done with all these apps, to be quite honest. I've had them, the spirit box, all that white noise drives me absolutely insane. Here's the original spirit box. And when I've used this before and we've sat in the room, this thing, it'll start tilting like this, and eventually it'll start to walk around the room all around the
Wow.
people, and it'll start to fly. And then you lay it on its side, and you ask spirit to speak through it, or you'd put it to your
Wow.
ear.
You should do a video on how to make them, Mike, and
I
how to
w-
use it.
The thing is, I wouldn't. It's like the table tipping. I'm very cautious about it because people don't know what they're getting involved in when they deal with table
Yeah.
tipping or the trumpet. You know, it's like the Michael Shane thing where he produces all this
Oh,
joy.
yes.
You know, you don't know what you're dealing with when you allow that kind of
That's
manifestation.
right.
So
it's like
you have
it's
to
like
know
making
your
your own.
guide.
Yes, you do really have to know. Yeah, it's like making your own Ouija board.
Yeah.
You know, so I did say that too fast, and I do apologise. But you know, at the end of the day, we've always got to use protection. We've always got to be grounded. We've got to talk with our guides, know who our guides are,
Yeah.
so we know what else can be coming through all this stuff that we use. Okay, let's keep going though, Mike.
What about
Okay,
the poltergeist?
okay, so we've got the lights.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the thing that I like about this is that the both lights are both going in sync. They're both doing this
Right.
in sync. That would be very hard to actually replicate, to create by like fake, you know, because you just swing one and you go to the other and say, oh, okay, and there'd be like that little half second off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But these two, I've watched it a few times and they're totally in sync.
Right.
So I like that.
Mm-hmm.
But when that girl walks in and she says, oh my God, look at the lights, that's not right. Because the reflection of the light, you know, the zooming down of the lights coming down, it's going like this. The light's going all over the room. She would have seen that as soon as she walked in the room.
Yeah.
So why did she wait until she went over and then said, oh my God, look at the lights?
Yeah.
She would, because of the size of those light shades, she would have seen that straight away.
You'd have noticed
Okay,
that.
so I didn't like that bit. Okay, yeah. Okay, so the next one with the can, I do like this one.
Right.
Because when I slowed it down, it's actually the top of the can that moved first.
Yeah.
So you've got a can, and it's on the ground like this. It actually moved from here first.
Right.
So you know, if you put string on something, you think that you put the string on the bottom, right? But the top of the can falls top. But the only thing that I didn't like about that one, they were watching Chucky on the TV. You know that doll that had no batteries and used to kill everything?
Yeah.
Chucky doll? Chucky was on the TV.
Yeah.
So how do you know? Oh, because this is going down a rabbit hole here now in paranormal. I've seen it many times that people watch a TV show about something weird and the energy from that weird comes through the screen and it affects things in that person's house.
Yeah.
So how do you know it wasn't the emotion of that movie? Because Chucky was a pretty wild, crazy movie when it first came out. The doll with no batteries up his butt. Sorry to put it like that, but it's true. He had no batteries.
Yeah.
And he's going around with the knife, killing people. Oh, my God. So that was interesting how Chucky was on the TV. Okay, picture frame that was levitating. You got to be there to see if there's strings, you know, like the curtain. You can see the cat watching the curtain.
Yeah.
But how do you know there's not a string there pulling the curtain, you know? And the thing that I didn't like with the photo, the picture's wobbling around, but they're only filming half of it.
Yeah.
You can't see the other end of the picture frame to see if there's actually someone there pushing it. So, you know, if you're going to... This is just a hint, guys. If you're ever going to film anything paranormal, it's going to have to be fast, so you've got to be really critical thinking here straight away. But you've got to capture the whole thing to show that there's no tricks or someone off screen, off camera, like, you know, like, I'm just going to go there now. So here you go. Hang on, I'll do it this way.
Yeah.
Oh, looky.
Yeah.
My bottle's moving,
Yeah.
but you can't see, and it's me doing it, you
Yeah.
know? So, yeah, you got to film the whole scenario.
Yeah.
If you really do want to get this out there as a paranormal exhibit.
Yeah.
Okay? So, yeah, so it's, Mike,
Fake.
the only one in there the only really one that I really did like in there was the can.
Yeah.
That can moving.
Yeah.
That was the best one. Yeah.
Okay. Super. Yeah.
That's all good though, because they all could be real, because I wasn't there to prove it. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, they all could be real. But I'd say that the only one, in my opinion, that could be real at this point would be the can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Super. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the moving on to the playground time slip. Another, I love these time slip ones. And
Me too.
I had this thought come to me the other day that people are going to start experiencing and witnessing more of these time slips in their own lives as
Yep.
the many dimensions begin to merge together now and consciousness rises, and we're going to see other realities merging with our own reality. It already happens, and for those that have the eyes and the ears to see and hear, they witness it pretty frequently.
Yeah.
But anyway, so let's have a look at this, and let's hear your comments also. Here we go.
Sure. Yep.
Back in the year 2016, I was visiting my old childhood playground with one of my friends who I grew up with. We used to hang out at that park a lot, even when we got older, since it was within biking distance of both of our houses. The playground was our spot, if you know what I mean. As we're visiting, we see a lot of construction workers and trucks all about. The park was mulched, but it looked especially torn up. The men taking it down had gotten about halfway. It was definitely being taken down. Slides were disassembled and platforms were being removed. We asked if we could have one piece, even just a screw to remember it, but none of the workers could oblige. We both recall them answering, "Everything's got to go back to Virginia." We thought that was a bit odd since this was New Jersey. We stuck around for another minute or two, just watching them dismantle everything, and talking to the workers and also amongst ourselves, and then we left. The next day we headed back to see what the deal was, and it was like nothing had ever happened. The playground was normal, the playground was still standing, and the graffiti was even still there, at the top of the monkey bars. We hadn't been able to find anything out about this, or about any playground in this area in Virginia. To this day, it is our little memory that we bring up every once in a while. We both remember the exact same details, but have no way to explain it.
Caught me off there. Yeah. Very briefly, before we talk about that, Mimi just left a comment that she got a creepy feeling when she saw
It's
the
a
trumpet.
he.
Oh,
Mimi's a he.
Mimi's a he. Okay. Got a creepy feeling. Yeah, and this is one of the reasons why I don't really want to advocate people using the trumpet and stuff like this, because it can be a bit daunting for people. When I've done the table with some people, they want me to stop because it's too much for them. It's too close to the spirit world for them. They prefer that distance. And the trumpet can have that same effect. I mean, when you see something levitating around the room on its own free will, yes, it is daunting. But remember, I am absolutely 100% sure I know who's protecting everybody in that room. So, you know, we'd be quite safe. So.
You know, and this is what I say, Mike, you know, the amount of people who have never had a paranormal experience, they shouldn't go to like a night like that first.
No.
First, because it's very shocking and it could lead to fears, being scared, frightened, where they never want to dabble with their own intuition anymore in the future. So if you do ever want to, you know, my suggestion, guys, if ever you do go to a night where they say, hey, things could move around by themselves and, you know, etc., try to stay calm, and most of all, go in with an open mind and an open heart, and remember that this stuff actually does occur. But if you don't like the fact that it may scare you, don't go. don't go. You know, I'd suggest that you go and watch some paranormal shows on TV first, so then you get into that mindset, or go on some like cemetery tours or other paranormal ghost hunts, etc., where you could have a little bit of an inkling of what would happen before you go to these nights, especially. But you've got to remember, ghost tours, they're not generally done by paranormal researchers and investigators. They are theatrical shows, a lot of these ghost tours that you go on. So you've really got to find the good people to go with. Kim, what about using a pendulum, she asks? Kim, that's absolutely right. You know, I use a pendulum. I've got a I've got a video how to buy, cleanse and use pendulums on my YouTube channel. Next time we go and watch it, if Mike doesn't, if you don't mind, Mike, I'll actually get the link and put it in there so Kim can watch that link that I've got. That's one of my channel where I talk about pendulums, how to use them, how I connect so I know the answers. So, you know, it's ultimately, though, knowing that who we are connecting with, okay? That's a big one.
And
because...
Sorry, for me, I never use the pendulum to answer my own questions, because my consciousness will absolutely influence it. If I'm answering questions on the pendulum for other people, then I'm trained enough not to allow any movement of myself to influence the direction of what it's going. In other words, I have to remain... I can only put it this way. I really don't care what the answer is, good or bad. That's not my job. My job is to keep my mind absolutely away from my consciousness influencing it. And that's a good use of the pendulum. And it's also good for diagnosing if you've got blocks or anything like this on the body. But you're quite right, cleansing it is most important.
And you've got to remember here too, guys, not too many psychics get their own information, okay? Not too many psychics get answers for themselves, and that's why we go to other psychics, okay? We're good at reading other people, but when it comes to our own problems, you know, the amount of times I'll look up to her and I'll say, oh, my gosh, can you tell me what's happening for me next week? She doesn't tell me.
No.
But if I go to a psychic, they'll say, oh, I can see that this is going to happen or that's going to happen. And I sit here sometimes and I think, well, why doesn't she tell me? But this is just across the board that most psychics don't get it. We don't get told about our own situations. Okay? Yeah, so it's not, you know, the same with tarot cards, pendulums and all that sort of stuff. I find that, you know, if I do my own tarot spread for myself, if I've got a question that I want to ask the cards, I get like a very genetic one that could go like 10,000 different ways. That's where we've got to take our own ego out of it. You know, you've got to take your ego out of it and generally ask somebody else to help you do it, you know. So it's not good to get our own questions at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Okay.
So where are we going over to next, Mike?
We will go over to the Railroad Angel. Oh, this is a beautiful story. And talk about intuition. And I love this because the lady says basically, nope, I know you were there. I knew you were there no matter what you say. I knew a moment ago you wasn't there no matter what you say. This is absolute divine intervention. So let's have a look at this one. This is brilliant. And please give us your comments on this.
It was just me and the railroad tracks, and I was completely oblivious to my surroundings because I was mostly looking down at the tracks to make sure that I wasn't stumbling over the logs, as railroad tracks can be hard to walk on. I had been walking on them for about half an hour when something moved out of the corner of my eye. I looked up, and just a little ways ahead of me, maybe 30 feet, sat 3 men. They were obviously homeless, and they were passing around what I assumed was a bottle of alcohol in a typical brown paper bag. They looked a little bit drunk, but more than that, they looked really leery. They were looking at me like starving dogs who had not eaten in a while and had just spotted a fat little rabbit. All of my senses went on high alert, as I suddenly realized that I was in serious trouble. It wasn't just that they were sitting there looking at me in a really lecherous way, and women will know what I'm talking about here. It was that I was all alone and surrounded by big empty factories, huge vacant parking lots, and scraggly bushes and trees that grew alongside the tracks. All the hair on the back of my neck was standing up, and I could feel a huge amount of fear rising up in me. I had good instincts, and I listened to them, and my instincts were screaming at me to get out of there. I glanced around, looking for any sign of humans. I looked to my left, I looked to my right, I looked ahead, and I glanced behind me. I was looking for any kind of movement, for any signs of human activity, but there was absolutely nobody around. I was trying to decide which would be the best place for me to run, and I thought if they started to get up, that's when I would need to bolt. I couldn't run to the right side of the tracks, since that was where they were sitting. I couldn't run to the left, since there was a deep ravine filled with what looked like thorny bushes. And I couldn't run forward, since they could cut me off. I looked behind me again, and there was nothing there. All I could see was one single track with nothing on it. Minneapolis is a really flat place. There aren't any hills, and this particular railroad track was just one straight long track. I decided that I would have to turn around and run back the way I came. All of this panicked planning took place in my head in a matter of seconds. I glanced at the men one more time to see what they were doing. Then, all of a sudden, I heard a really loud beeping sound behind me. It was really loud, and it startled me. I turned around and looked, and right behind me was a huge metal vehicle sitting on the railroad tracks. It was sitting right behind me, about 5 feet away. It was large and taller than me. I'm 5'8", and it was really bright orange. It was one of those metal vehicles that runs only on the railroad tracks. And on top of this big orange vehicle sat a heavy-set guy with glasses and a big smile on his face. Totally bewildered and startled, I stepped off the railroad tracks just to the left and stood on the small part of the gravel area. He pulled up right next to me in this big machine, looked down at me, and with a huge smile on his face said, "Need a ride?" I looked up at him and I said, "Yes, yes, yes, I need a ride." He said, "Stand on that and hold on to this." He pointed to a ledge that jutted out at the bottom of the vehicle, and then pointed to a round bar that came out of the side of the machine. I grabbed onto the bar, stepped onto the ledge, and pulled myself up, and we slowly rode by those 3 men, going about 3 miles per hour. I was so startled that he had come up from behind me when just a couple of seconds ago there was nobody behind me, and there was certainly no big bright vehicle behind me. Feeling confused and a bit in shock, I said to him, "Where did you come from? I just looked behind me and you weren't there." He laughed and said in a really jolly voice, "I came from back there," as he pointed his finger behind him. And I said, "No, you didn't. I looked back there just a second ago and you were not there." He just laughed and didn't answer. I was about to question him again about where he had come from and how he had gotten on the track so fast. But at that moment, I realized that this was absolutely not possible. It was not possible for him to be there. I had looked behind me less than 2 or 3 seconds before I heard that loud honking sound, and the tracks were completely empty. I realized that this could not be a person, and that this had to be a paranormal experience.
That's a beautiful story. And we've heard so many of these stories where an angelic intervention has happened, and they don't say anything. They just say a few words, smile, look at them, and then just say bye, and off they go. Yeah, fabulous.
But Mike, I want part 2. I want, what happened to her after that? Okay, so the 2 questions I wrote down is, how long did she stay on the machine, like the train?
Yeah.
How long did she stay on it for? And did it keep going, or did it just disappear after they had that conversation? Because
Well, I'll find
Yeah.
the link.
trains,
I'll find the whole link, and it's about
This-
13 minutes
yeah,
long,
but-
and then I'll post
but
it
this
to you.
is what annoys me with this one, Mike, because I'm trying to debunk it, right? When a train comes along a track, it's not quiet.
No.
It's not quiet. They're loud. You hear the clogs on
Yeah.
the steel as well as the of inside the engine. Even electric trains make noise.
Yeah.
You hear them coming.
Yeah.
So where did it go? I want to know how fast it went. I want to know where it went. Did it just disappear, or did it go off where it sort of kept going invisible over a 10-kilometer way or whatever,
Yeah.
But it was just so gorgeous, as Nikki just commented. It was gorgeous. But I want to know the second part of the story. Where did they go? Where did she observe where that train and that guy went?
Right.
Because obviously she was scared.
Yeah.
She knew that she was in trouble.
Yeah.
So you would hightail it out of there, right? You really would get out of there straight away. But it would be just so interesting to see how long that train actually stayed around for. I'd like to know that. And I don't think we're ever going to get that answer either, Mike, but it frustrates me because that's part of trying to prove this existence of it.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll find the link, and I'll give you the link to the whole story.
Yeah.
So,
I would have loved to have, and as Nikki said, guardian angel for sure.
yeah.
Obviously it was, because he's just turned up right when she needed him, And the funny thing is, because it was a train track she was on, he came in the appearance of a train.
Yeah.
If she was walking down a highway, like on a footpath, then it would have been a car.
Yeah.
If she was on a trail through a bush, it was probably going to be a guy on a bike that would have turned up.
Yeah.
Because they do fit in with the landscape of where we are.
Yeah.
Because they can do that. They can do that. So what a great story. I really loved it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Super. Okay.
Yeah.
Kendra's story. It's a very short reincarnation story that I thought I'd like to throw in. Because again, we see more witness to the fact that children up to a certain age can remember their past lives.
Yes.
And I've said it once before, and I'll risk repeating myself, but there was the story of, I saw it where a newborn baby was in the cot, and his baby brother was overlooking him and said to his little baby brother who was in the cot, "Help me not to forget," referring to his life.
Sorry, I just got the goosebumps then. And it is, Mike, it's goosebumps. It really is. It's gorgeous with what kids come out with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
I get the goosebumps. Let's go and have a look at it.
Kendra's story. Here we go.
Listen. When Kendra met her swimming instructor, she immediately jumped into the instructor's lap and started acting lovingly towards her. Kendra then developed a loving attachment to the swimming instructor named Ginger. The child then talked about Ginger all the time, and then began saying that she'd been a baby in Ginger's tummy. Kendra's mother eventually found out from Ginger that she'd had an abortion 9 years before Kendra was born, when she was unmarried, sick, and dealing with anorexia. Kendra was usually a withdrawn child, but every time she saw Ginger, she was bubbly and happy. Time was set aside for them to be together because Kendra's wish to be with Ginger had become very intense. Then her mother and Ginger had a falling out, and Kendra was unable to visit Ginger. Because of this, Kendra would not eat, slept a lot, and became depressed. After 4 months, Kendra was able to visit Ginger again, and she quickly recovered. Kendra's mother decided to buy a book about reincarnation to find out more about her daughter's strange behaviour, but she also felt uneasy and guilty about buying the book, as it went against all of her beliefs of a conservative Christian church. which did not accept the idea that reincarnation was a natural process in life. It's strange that a child believed she had once lived before, though a very short life, yet her mother had no such beliefs due to her religious upbringing, so it is obvious that Kendra's belief was definitely not influenced by her mother. So where did Kendra get her beliefs from, as she appears to have been born with them? How did Kendra remember this past life with her previous mother when she had only existed in her womb for a couple of months before the abortion?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I mean, only existed in the womb. I wouldn't say only existed. I would say existed in the womb. Yeah, why not? What other memories does the child have at that age as well? So,
Well, darling, it's not so much the kids that I want to talk about, it's the mother.
yeah,
How hard would that be for her?
yeah,
You know, where she's got to allow that child to go off with somebody else. And, you know, that's so hard. That would be so hard for her.
yeah,
You know, but, you know, for the new mum I'm talking about, you know, wow.
yeah,
So many questions I've got, you know. So, you know, we talk about life lessons that we all have, because we all do have life lessons. You know, what are the life lessons for that new mum now?
yeah,
Where, you know, what else did I write here? So what's the connection to the now mum? You know, that child doesn't have a connection to that now mum.
no,
And what about walk-ins? You know, we can also go into what about if it was a walk-in that occurred. So there's a lot of possibilities in this story
yeah.
that, but ultimately for that child to have those memories, whoa,
Yeah.
amazing.
I mean, it's
Amazing.
interesting that Ginger suffered from anorexia, and when the daughter there, Kendra, wasn't allowed to see Ginger, she stopped eating as well. So there's some kind of genetic
Yes.
connection there.
That's
So,
right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and it does. It all does come back down to that connection. You know, I didn't mention it, but when we were talking about the playground time slip before, Mike,
Yeah.
those boys, or men, I should say, they were used to play at that playground when they were kids. So there's that connection.
Yeah.
And that's why they've had that. Well, I can't say that's because they've had the time slip, but it's assisted them to be connected to that playground, which is what's happened now with this reincarnation story, where we have these like universal or frequency connections. Wow, that's a new term for Linda tonight.
Yeah.
Frequency connections,
Yeah.
where it's not just like an energetic connection, it's properly a frequency where we do stay connected to people over time and place, or other things like the playground, you know. So it's very, very interesting. I love them. I love one thing I will tell you, Mike, I love our shows because I get the goosebumps every week when we do our shows.
Yeah.
And, you know, I get off after I finish with the show, I get off and I'm in such a good mood for the rest of the night. It's amazing.
Super.
You know, so I hope that that's also in all the people who watch these shows, you know, because it's to let us all know that we can all hope and pray that this is all real, you know. I want it to be all real, everything.
Yeah.
Even that light moving before, I want it all to be real. Hey, it's all
And
good.
let me take the opportunity to again ask everyone, if you've had a
Oh,
spiritual experience, please let us know. You can either just talk it on audio and we'll put a video over it like the Railroad Angel, or you can sit in front of the camera, and which I prefer, about the distance we are now, and then we can put video intermix with it. Or just write it out, and I'll get Katerina, for example, to read it out. Only 5 minutes. I think it'd be great. It'd be great for everyone because it gets real, because it's within our own community. So anything,
That's right.
NDE, deathbed vision, divine intervention, angelic rescue, anything,
Yep.
anything. It'd be great.
Yep.
So,
Yep. Absolutely. Wow.
okay, let's move on to our
Alrighty.
final.
Oh,
Larny
NDE
Larry. It's
time.
a bit Larry, Larny Larry. So, another wonderful NDE. So here we go. Let's roll
Yeah.
this and see your comments.
Oh, it was a long time ago. So I was 29 years old. I went to the doctor's dentist's office. They were using laughing gas at the time. I had never had a drink, never used drugs, never smoked, hardly ever took aspirin. I think my body just said, "What is this?" And I went into anaphylactic shock. So one minute I was in the dentist's chair, the next minute I was up on the ceiling looking down at this body. And as I looked at my 29-year-old body, I felt as though it was just a piece of clothing. I had a fondness for it. I knew it. I had used it well, but it was time to go to the Salvation Army. I wasn't connected to it. And I felt no fear, no pain, no anxiety. The dentist was kind of freaking out, and I was trying to talk to him from up there and say it was okay, but of course he didn't get it.
As if that would help.
And I had also within this I had no sense of time. There was no anxiety. There was no sense of passing time. So I don't know how long I was up there in the corner. But the next thing I knew, it was as though I had turned around and I was going into a tunnel, and my mother, who had been dead for 15 years, was right at the tunnel. I can still see it. And she was beautiful and whole and vibrant and healthy, and she did not die that way. She was healed, and her arms were outstretched to me, and we communicated telepathically, so our mouths didn't move, but I thought, and she received, and she thought, and I heard. And I thought, "I miss you." And what came back to me was, "I know," as though her arms were around me. And I was not able to tell her I loved her before she died. And I said, "I love you." And she said, "I know." And my ego was not present, because my ego here would have said, I wanted to stay with my mother for years and years and years and tell her every single first date I had and my wedding and all about my child. The ego was not present because I knew from a soul level at that moment that she had always been with me. We had never been apart. I knew that. I still know that. And so with that, I was drawn into a tunnel that, to me, the words I can describe it are almost an opalescent blue, beautiful, beautiful. And at the end of the tunnel was a pinpoint of light, and I couldn't do anything but go toward it. And so I went toward this light, and as I got to this light, it became bigger and brighter, almost like looking into the sun, but it wasn't painful to look into this light. And the light was in front of me, and then the light was around me, and then I was in the light, and then I knew I was the light. That there, as a drop of water in the ocean is not separate, the light and I were made of the same substance. And I was home. It was, bliss doesn't come close to the word, but I knew in that moment that I was forgiven for anything I thought was unforgivable. I was loved beyond all measure in a way that I'd never been loved before, and I wanted to stay there. And again, in the same telepathic way as with my mother, I heard a voice that said to me, and you can call this light whatever you want because words really get in the way of what it was, but this light said to me, "You must go back." And with all the chutzpah I had, I responded and said, "No." And the light said, "You have work to do. You must go back." And again, I yelled with everything I had, "No." And then I felt and I heard like a churning, like I was in a blender, coming back down through the tunnel. And the next thing I knew, I was in the dentist chair. And the dentist thought that he had resuscitated me, so he can have the credit. Didn't
How long did the dentist say you were?
About 10 minutes.
There you are, 10 minutes. You beat her.
Yep.
You was 14 minutes.
It's all good, Mike.
Yeah.
You know, it's all
Yeah.
good. But
But I wouldn't recommend an NDE to anyone, though, would you? You know, many people say, "Oh, I'd love to experience an NDE," but you know, you can have an out-of-the-body experience without, You know, remember the old TV, the old movie Flatliners, the original one from the 80s.
Yeah.
You know,
Kiefer
that's the only,
Sutherland, Julia Roberts.
yeah,
Hello.
that's the only
Yep,
way
I
you're
know
going
it.
to have an induced NDE if you.
Well,
Yeah.
the thing was, Mike, you know, I was a first aid trainer for years. I've done CPR now on 6 people. I don't like bragging, but 4 woke up. Hello, thank goodness for that. But I've seen and been around a lot of death all my life. And the thing with these movies, they don't portray it as it is in real life.
No.
It's actually very gruesome what happens to us when we do pass over. It's not nice. And, you know, when we look at movies like Flatliners, they make it almost something like what you would want to do. And it's not like that. You know, when you've had defibrillation, you don't feel good for weeks after it. It's not a good experience to have a defibrillator put on you. You know, obviously I had it a few times. You know, you're sore, you feel sick, you can't walk for weeks or days to weeks afterwards after you've had this sort of procedure. So it's not fun, guys, you know, so don't ever want to wish it on anybody.
No.
You know, it took me a good 6 weeks to where I actually could walk around the house and not feel scared about dropping dead again. So it is very traumatic having a near-death experience. Every night I went to bed, I still get it now. And I'm honest with how I am. Yeah, it was 21 years ago, but I go to bed at night and I think, oh my God, am I going to wake up? Because there was a night when I didn't.
Yeah.
So it does still go. It's very traumatic, and it's not something to be looked on in jest or lightly.
As cool.
As being cool, yes. Okay, so I'd like to get into my notes of what I've got on this one now, because I've got a few notes on this one.
Yeah.
Some of the things that connected me to my own experience. She was looking down on her body and she said I was not connected to it. That happened to me as well. When I was floating up near the ceiling and they pulled out the gurney with my body on it, you know, Linda was down there, I had no connection to that body. I didn't even feel upset about seeing me down there because I was up near the ceiling looking down at the gurney. So she said that she wasn't connected to it at all. So once again, I'm very similar with her there. She said there was no sense of time, and it was only when the doctor told her that she was out for 10 minutes, very similar again to me. You know, I only say I went to heaven for 5 years because I base that time on how long I was talking to people.
Yeah.
You know, we've been doing this show now for an hour, but multiply that by thousands. And then I'd go and talk to another person, and it was by thousands of what we've already been doing for the last hour. So then I base how far I walked. You know, generally I walk at about 5 miles an hour. So how long did I walk for when I'm walking like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of miles? You know, so as a time, you know, where it's 5 miles an hour and you walked 1,000 miles, that's 200 hours just there. You know, I think I got the right maths there. But, you know, I've calculated it all. So, again, she's right there, you know. She said, I can still see it. And now I understand what she meant there, because when I think about my experience, I get this memory, and it's the same memory as, it's as vivid and clear as something I did yesterday.
Right.
So my memories, even though it was 21 years ago that I passed away, I've still got those memories like it happened yesterday. When I hear the music, I can still hear the music in my ear right now. I'm hearing it right now because I'm thinking about it. Ooh, and it's like a tribal chant. It hasn't gone away yet.
No.
And it's been 21 years, but I've still got it in my head as soon as I think about it. The colours that I saw there, I can still see the colours, but I can't tell what the colours are because we don't have colours here to compare them to. So her saying I can still see it, very, very similar to mine. Now, the other thing that she said was my ego was not present. How gorgeous was that? Because when I was in heaven, I was no longer Linda. I was now my soul still connected to Linda because that was the life my soul had last lived. Yeah. It's a hard one. It's hard to fathom it, Mike. You know, it's like your favourite clothes. Okay, we've all got different clothes in the wardrobe. So you think about the last clothes in the wardrobe that you wore, and that's like the last life that we had. So it's very, very like that. But she said my ego was not present. I love that she said it like that. Yeah.
Super.
Yeah.
One question I wanted to ask you, Linda, because it seems quite a regular thing, a stable thing. People have the NDEs, they float and they stay above the ceiling. So were you able to control that you was able to stay in the room, or could you have gone through the room straight away and not worried about this? So in other words, were you able to control where you were?
I'm going to be honest, Mike. I've done about 15 interviews now with other people. No one has ever asked me that question before. So thank you so much for asking. I actually was floating there and I saw the sheriff and the fire department guy come in. You know, here in Australia we call them fireys. So the fiery and the sheriff came in and they were standing in front of me. And I actually was trying to get down to go and talk to them, but I couldn't move.
Right.
It wasn't like I was chained, you know, like when you push forward and you're like pulled back, like what's the word? Restrained. It wasn't like that. It was more like I just couldn't move there, like just like we do with moving our hands, because there was no restraint. It wasn't like I was pushing against something to try and get forward. It was more like I just couldn't. So I'm glad that you've asked that because no one else has ever asked me that one. I was just there. I could not go down. I couldn't go higher. I couldn't go left or right. I couldn't do a somersault because I was floating in the air. You know, you might want that thought. Oh, well, while I'm here, I'll just do a couple of somersaults. You know, like they do in the anti-gravity jets and stuff. You know, this. You know, when you see the astronauts up on this ISS, they always do the somersault. You know, we're look at me, I'm floating. But no, we can't do any of that because. And also, why was I there? My body was 2 rooms away in the ensuite, in the toilet. Why was I in the lounge room? Why wasn't I in the kitchen? Why wasn't I out on the front doorstep? Why wasn't I hovering over my own body? So that was not controllable. It really was not controllable. But one thing I will go there with, because this is very important, it's a very pertinent part of this. Whenever I hear stories, because I've researched thousands of these, whenever I've heard a story of anyone who's floated above, they are always where the action occurs.
Right.
I was in the toilet. Yes, I had paramedics in there doing the defibrillation and other stuff on me, right? But all the action was in the lounge room. Right. So I saw the fire engine guy. I saw the sheriff. I saw the police, the state troopers came. I saw the paramedics coming out and they're all having like this powwow in the living room. I saw my ex-husband there with what he was saying. I saw them making the notes on their notepads. I saw all their name badges. So when I woke up, I actually said to my doctor, and I've still got his name because he's in my medical files, I actually said to him, I know that this man was there, like John Smith. John Smith was there from the fire department. And he said, how did you know that? Because you were passed out, you were unconscious. And I said, no. And John Williams was there, and John Denver was there. John, this guy was there. And he said, how did you know all that? And I said, because I was there. I was in the lounge room, living room, watching them all as they were all talking. And he said, well, what were they talking about? And I said, oh, yeah, they were talking about this. They were talking about that. They were talking about that. And he was just like, Okay. You know, so he didn't know how to deal with that.
No.
But it was confirmed. It all was confirmed only, and let me just go there, only a few months ago, like I died 21 years ago, but only 6 odd months ago was when I got my medical files. That's how thick it is. That's my medical files from the hospital when I died.
Huh.
So all the people's names are in there.
Yeah.
So how often do you get all your own death certificate and death records from the hospital?
Yeah.
That's what I've got in that red folder. So, you know, it does pain me to go through it.
Yeah.
It's, you know, 21 years later, it's still very traumatic to look in there and look at it, you know. So I usually only look at it when people are here with me. Hello, I'm a little bit of a wuss, but I'm a girl, you know.
Girly, you're a girly.
Girl. But at the end of the day, and I'm a single girl, so it does get hard.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Mike, you know, it's hearing other people's stories who I've never heard of before, like this Lani Leary. Never heard of her before.
No.
But she's said so many things in there
Yeah.
that are the same that what happened to me.
Yeah.
How? How did that happen? You know, we all have our own unique situations. We all have our own perspective of what happens. You know, some people do their life review like a movie going in front of their eyes where they're out in the white field of all the flowers. Other people go into the cathedral like myself. Other people are in a big domed building.
Yeah.
Other people are in other places where they have all this life review happening. So the fact that we all have our own different perspective, but at the end of the day, what occurs is uniform across. We all have to heal our memories or our actions of what happened when we were alive. So we all do create this like hologram of what we see during that time through our own perspective. But, you know, it is thankfully that we now live in this time where people are sharing their stories. So we do, you know, me as a researcher, I just love this one tonight. She's blown me away with a couple of things that she said because it's just so true with what I saw.
Yeah.
You know, that was documented with me. You know, even 5 years ago when I first wrote Heaven Exposed, which is now 5 years in heaven. Wow, it's all good.
Well, Linda, I've got a reading to do in 3/4 of an hour.
I know, we're running late.
I need to
I've got to
meditate.
go and see if my daughter's what she's up to.
Yeah.
Get her to bed. Yes.
Yeah. Okay,
Oh,
so
good, darling.
everyone, thanks for joining us. Please send
And-
in us or write to us, get in contact with us
Yep.
about your spiritual experiences, and we'll put it on the show.
Yeah.
In
Yep.
the meantime, see you all next week.
Stay safe, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.